We're live.
We're live to the second. How about that?
That's good. Was that a timing thing? Did you actually time that correctly?
I actually saw it, and when it said 0 seconds, I hit it, and then it came up, the higher clock over here. So while it was buffering, it was still counting. Twisted Mopar Garage is first. Big Mike's Hoopty Barn is second. JB's Little Shop is third. Glad you guys are here. Hey, Slant Daily's fourth. Check that out.
Yeah.
Check that guy out. Levi's Backyard Performance, Buffalo Brian. Did you know Buffalo Brian is the brother of One Eyed Cat and Ron English?
I did not know that.
Sometimes we have all three of them and Wendy English in here, the entire English crew.
Wow.
NSB Custom Cars is here. Mohawk 62. He says, hello, fellow Will Burners and NNN patrons. Okay. Colleen Tebow is here. My mom's in the house. Check that out.
Oh, nice.
38 POS Racing's here. Glad all you guys could make it. Dan E. Boyd. The chat just got a little saltier. B-Dub's Garage. How's it going?
Yes.
All right, guys. Glad you could make it.
Yeah.
Welcome to our Friday.
Right? And I knocked on the door.
That's right. That's right. It works that way sometimes. Yeah. Tony's Hot Rod Garage. Well, more people are still streaming in, but both Professor P and I called off of a long, tiring day to come on out.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry says, I'm new here, stumbled upon this channel, and find you all entertaining. Well, good.
Good.
Junkyard D says hi to me and the professor and all. Let's see, there's Ron English. Stephen Holtz, just drive it. Where in this continent are you now, Stephen Holtz?
Oh, is he a traveler?
He's a traveling man.
Wow.
He came out of Texas last week, and I don't know where all he went. I think he went to most of the continents that was accessible by land vehicle. But in his trip, I know that he was in southwestern Virginia, and I met up with him and Dart Freak 75. And among other things, we made a short. So he wanted to make a short about the way I put ratchet straps on, which is when you're going down the road and you're putting a ratchet strap around something, a lot of guys put them hook to hook. Problem with that is you're relying on the tension of whatever you're hooking it around. And if you do like a pile of brush, when you get where you're going, the strap will not be hooked. So I always make a loop, and I put the hook through the loop and then cinch it.
Yeah.
And then that never comes loose until you take it loose.
Yeah.
Oh, there were people in the comments, you can't do that. It puts strain on the strap. And I'll just, it was a good video. I knew it would do well.
As long as it's not twisted,
Yeah. Not twisted.
That's fine.
Buck Does It is here. Cool. Well, I don't know what Sherry finds entertaining about us, but if you find it entertaining that I'm completely beat from putting up a fence, then that's perfectly valid.
And I'm tired for...
I'm glad to show people I'm getting down the line with the fence.
Oh, yeah.
I got to get 12 of them in, and I believe I've got 8 of them out there now, so 4 to go. Professor P, tell them about your tiring day. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so here's my day. I got a new to me. Sorry about the glare. I got a backlight here. There we go. Does that work? There we go.
Yeah.
That is a new to me 1968 Schwinn Typhoon Deluxe 2-speed rear end in it, and I just picked it up today for the first time, and I was like, man, I got to go for a ride. So where I live at, we went to Johnson Park, to the water park, and I brought my twins. And then we decided that was so much fun. Let's drive all the way across town to Lost Pizza and let's have some pizza. Sure. So we drive all the way across town to go to Lost Pizza. Then we decide, why don't we go to the next park, which is just right down the road. So we go down to that park. Then we realized, hey, I need to get back because, I told John I was going to do a live tonight. So we ride all the way back. And then I look down at my little ticker. 15.6 miles. So on that bike today in that heat. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm tired.
Buffalo Brian says, isn't that what a ratchet strap is for? To put tension on something? Sure. But let's say you've got the springs of a car bouncing around on a trailer going down the road. Your hooks will not be hooked when you get there. There was a guy saying, you have to do it hook to hook. And I said, well, I'm glad there's people like you because I find ratchet straps in the road all the time for free that way. That's where they come from. Mm-hmm. When we put Andy's Casper on the trailer, when it threw that connecting rod through the block, I remember that there was not a place big enough for the hook on the ratchet strap. So I just fished the strap through the hole because it was smaller, put the hook through on the other side, cinched it up, rode all the way home that way. I've done that trick for years and years and years. And it's never let me down.
Yeah.
Everybody's greeting one another in here. Colleen Tebow says that we're entertaining her. Well, cool. So we have, I'm going to try to catch up with them. I never see them in here on the lives, but Scrap Iron Racing, Phil Landry, he is getting really close to 500. So I'm going to get in touch with him. We'll try to have a 500 live with them if they're up for it.
Yeah.
I've not talked with them. They registered around 300 and some, so they're getting really close.
It's awesome. It always gets exciting when you're getting to that 500. I remember when I hit 500 last year. It was just kind of like, it was like this milestone, you know, like you're like, what do I do now? Like it became real, you know?
Yeah. Dust Devil says, wow, was it Wednesday? Should I be at work? Yes, Dust Devil, it is Wednesday. You should be at work. You should go get in your truck and go to work right now. You're late.
Jinx. Right.
I remember when I was in trade school, one of the teachers there, Jay, when somebody would come up and ask him a question that he knew was in the book or he knew they should know and they shouldn't be asking, he would, and they had some wrong answer, he would just say, yeah, the answer is 3. Or he would just say something like that. And eventually the students would figure out over the course of a semester, I shouldn't be asking this question because he's completely willing to confirm some terrible answer for me for asking it.
Yep. I remember
Ray
one time.
Agent, welcome.
I was a parts jockey for a while, and it was one of my days where I was just having a bad day. Somebody came and goes, hey, I need a spark plug. I literally walked back, grabbed a spark plug, and handed it to him, and he went and paid for it, and he went away and never saw him again. True story. That was a true story.
You know what? That guy was probably doing you a favor. Probably, you know what? He probably was. If he's willing to risk shoplifting over a spark plug, you probably don't want him as a customer in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the most overqualified parts jockey ever. I would never get a parts jockey who knew anything.
Ooh, look at Moha 62. My first bike was a Schwinn Typhoon 20-inch Stingray. I was 5 years old. Yeah. Nice. This is Schwinn Typhoon. This is a 26-inch, and it's got Stingray bars on it. And this was actually someone's original bike that they bought. And when he passed away, they donated it to a church, and the church just happened to be friends with the people who actually owned it. And so when I bought it, I named the bike after him. The bike's name is Mark, and he was the guy who bought it brand new. He rode it for years and years and years. He passed away probably about 10, 15 years ago. It's just been sitting. So I bought it last week, and they gave it a tune-up, and then today I put 15 miles on it, and it rides like a dream. It's awesome. They don't make bikes like that.
Dust Devil says he'll go to work if I change the orange paper back to Wednesday's number. Well, here we go. Say hi to your boss.
Right?
Yeah, Buffalo Brian. There's a lot of good ways to use a ratchet strap. It's just, the white New Balance car show crowd, a few of them did not approve of me coming up and trying to innovate.
Yeah.
I mean, some things we put on YouTube just to be told how we're doing it wrong.
I do that sometimes just to mess with people. Have you ever done that before? Oh, yeah.
If I were to put up how I'm building this fence, I would have people descend upon me. You can't do that. You want to bet I can't do that? I absolutely can.
Can we shift gears for a second?
Absolutely.
Did you see the video of the people who called the police in Phoenix saying that UFO and an alien landed. Did you hear about that?
I haven't heard about that. Tell me all about it.
There was. It looked like a comet. It literally looked like a comet, right? And it was
Right.
this blue coming down. They called the cops, and I believe it was in Phoenix. It was in Arizona or something. And they're like, yeah, a UFO landed, and this 10 foot tall guy or 8 foot tall guy got out. This Martian, this alien. He's literally telling this to the cops, like for real, like this. I had to watch it a couple times. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are
Yeah.
you serious?" Like that
Love it.
actually, yeah. You should Google it. It's really incredibly funny.
It's amazing to me. I've watched. It's amazing what people will do when they call the police. I've seen people call the police when they were in the wrong, and
Yeah,
police get the videos and arrest the person who called them.
yeah.
It's pretty remarkable what people will do. I have, if I can get to it here. Fortunately, I remember when it was.
Buffalo Brian 33 said, "I saw that video. Yes, you should. After this, or when we take a break, you should try to Google that. It's really, really, really funny. Like I laughed literally out loud a couple times watching the same thing.
There is no limit to what some people will do. So
Yeah.
here's a fence picture. I was working with my dad on the fence on the other side. So this is what this is on the east side. This is what the west side will look like.
Okay.
And there are people you should like. I use terminal posts exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use any line posts. So it almost makes like a modular fence. I could take any section down and the rest would be freestanding.
Oh, that's cool.
But it allows me to change the grade continuously because there's nothing flat around here.
Yeah, yeah,
So the fence can follow the grade perfectly. Have the full height of fence and it doesn't wander or anything. But it's just a lot more labor.
yeah.
But
But
I'm telling you, if I did a video about that, they would descend upon it.
that's funny. Descend upon it.
Here's an interesting from an unfinished project here.
Yeah.
He says an 84 W350. That's his ride there.
Mm-hmm.
He washed off the engine and it's now completely dry. Spark from the coil wire into cap. No spark coming out.
Water in the cap.
Change the cap and rotor.
Oh,
No spark.
okay. And I've actually had this. That's still water in the distributor. That's what that
Yeah.
is. It's going to be inside there. Even if you change that out, you got to dry that out. Believe it or not, WD-40 works awesome. That's just WD. I believe was water displacement is what it is.
Yeah.
Formula number 40. So it really works. I used to keep a can in the trunk of my car, and when you hit a water puddle, it would just shut off. You spray that in there, works like a dream.
Colleen works with 4 retired police officers and hears stories. Oh, I bet.
Yeah, yeah. My uncle was a cop in the Newton division of the LAPD, and wow, he's got some stories too.
Oh, I bet. I bet. I knew a bicycle cop in downtown Blacksburg, which is where Virginia Tech is.
Okay, yeah,
Craziness all the time.
yeah,
Mohawk says the VWs were bad about having water in the distributor.
mm-hmm.
I can believe that. I
Slant
can
six.
certainly see that.
Slant six is bad too, especially when you're making right-hand turns because the distributor's on that side. And
Yeah.
there's one plastic piece that's in the inner fender well that keeps it from getting splashed on, and that thing will fall off eventually, or someone takes it off when they're doing like any type of work, and just you hit the water just right, and it'll hit that distributor and just shuts the car off.
Yeah, I still like a distributor, but there's times like that that have their advantages going distributorless. Unfinished project stayed away from the distributor with the water on purpose, was cleaning around the plugs. Water's got a mind of its own.
Yeah, it could just be vapor, or even if there's water on the. And what kind of engine was this again? Did he say?
He said it's in a W350. I think it's a 318.
318. Okay. It could have those little tubes in it, and the water got inside the tubes. You know how they have those little the electrical those shrouded tubes. Have you seen those? That
Yeah.
for the, it could be something like that, but I don't know. But that's I got to tell you, that's what I believe it is. Or he probably got water on the ballast resistor, but
I don't know how that would do it unless I don't know.
unless it cracked it, it was hot and then it cracked with some water. I don't know.
WD-40 does not conduct electricity. Dust Devil's asking. Never thought about it before.
No, I mean, it probably would, but it's better for water displacement.
Yeah.
And you just spray it in there, and if it's just, it's only going to have anything like flame if it's still suspended in the air. But if you're spraying and it's coating something, no, all it's going to do is just displace the water.
Now that's actually a really old trick, the WD-40, and I think I've actually seen advertisements of doing that, spraying the inside of a distributor cap. They've shown that. I think it was an old commercial from the '90s or something that showed that.
Yeah, it works pitching. Yeah, in fact, I still use it to this day. I keep one of those. Remember the little tiny cans of WD-40? You've seen those?
Yeah, yeah.
I keep one of those in the trunk, just in the slant six, just in case.
Tall Garage says, "Look at these guys." I don't know if we're that much to look at, but here we are.
Right.
Unfinished Project says it's a 360, no shrouds. Could not possibly have gotten any water in there on any universe. Well, man, I guess it's magic. But if you find out what it is, let me know.
Here's what I tell you to do. If you have another distributor, this is how I always diagnose it, is take another distributor, unplug the one that's in there, plug it into the distributor, and then just spin the distributor, laying it down on the engine, and then just take off the coil, and you'll see if it sparks or not. And that will tell you right off the bat if it's a distributor or not.
Yep.
I always keep a spare one just for that, so that way I can diagnose. Does that spark? Yep. Okay. Moving on.
Easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Heavens Mopars is uploading an update video on the Duster. Well, that's cool. Looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Tall Garage, if I may, I'd like to show that transmission find that you sent me a picture of. I thought that was interesting. So we got Punisher Le Mans in here. Welcome. Scott with an S. I see Buck is in here. Talking about the ninja that is Unfinished Project. Quiet crowd tonight. I will plug so Tony's Hot Rod Garage is going live after me tonight, and he's at 597 subscribers. He wants to do a 600 sub giveaway, or he may. He's just saying, so you have to watch to find out.
Nice.
Professor P? Did you see the giveaway that I did a Friday or two ago? I was going to do it Wednesday with you, and I still have. I still have it next to my desk with this. Did you see that?
I've seen that. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. Rob should have his shirt, but anyway, Rob's Rods and Street Cars the only one that could figure out what this was, and I still have it sitting right here next to the desk.
Wow.
It needs to go, but
you should mount that on a trophy. Put a rod into it and mount it, and just here's your trophy, dude.
We could say the best fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen Holtz is here. The traveling man. Mohawk says check the ignition fuse if it has one. Sherry says, not sure if this is the right place to ask this, but would you guys have any idea what a 2001 Eldorado with a North Star V8 and 45,000 original owner miles on her worth?
The engine's worth more than
that.
Yeah, the engine's worth more than the whole car.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the North Star was like the actual engine to have for dune buggies for in the early 2000s. It was like you 8,000 RPM or 7,000 RPM all day long. As far as what they used to sell for, I believe the engine was a good $5,000 or $6,000 back then. What that's worth, I really have no idea, because who's really into Eldorados in 2001 especially. So I couldn't answer that. But as far as the engine goes, probably
No.
5-6 grand.
Now the engines, they have their place. I know that
Hmm.
the Nelsons, when they were running front wheel drive cars and setting records, they were running the transaxle from a Cadillac North Star,
Oh yeah.
which is a transverse meant to
Hmm.
go on an LS. They were running it with an LS, I think they said.
Yeah.
Um, all I know is that North Star. I've only heard stories about how bad the starter is to change on one
Yes.
because it's under the intake.
It sucks.
Yeah, I've heard it's really bad. And typically, once those cars hit a few more miles than what you have, the resale plummets. So
Yes.
you're going to sell it at 45, get it all clean. You're going to get your top dollar right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, Sherry. I don't have an answer for you on that.
Yeah,
But
this is not the right crowd to figure
mm-mm.
out the value on a. See, I would call that a late model car. That's a
Me
very
too.
modern car in my world.
Right. Yeah. Until we got the Journey, our next newest vehicle was 2004. So that was considered, wow. Let's take the new vehicle. It's 2004.
Yeah, Sherry, I was driving an '85 Dodge van, today just daily. That's.
Hmm.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Dust Devil wants to stretch Tony's live 7 hours tonight. All right, well, knock yourself out. I'm
Really?
probably going to be trying to get some sleep and double down on my fence efforts tomorrow. I'm getting close.
Yeah, we got a long drive tomorrow. We're going out to Jackson tomorrow. So we're going to go to the Pickle Festival.
The Pickle Festival.
Yes, we're going to the
Awesome.
yes, because dude, our whole family are like we're pickle like nerd fiends, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And
All right.
yeah, and I like dill pickles. Some of the kids like sweet pickles, but I like dill that are really dill and like a little bit of heat too. And so there's going to be a whole festival around pickles. Like awesome. Yeah. We're driving 3 hours to go see a pickle festival. Yeah, that's
I
us.
think that's cool. Might surprise you. There's a lot of people say the Maple Festival here's a big deal worth going to. I don't know. I'm just not a festival kind of guy. I've worked a lot of festivals, worked booths at them.
Do you know that we eat how much? Oh, actually, how much we drink of maple here? We go through, the little jugs at Costco. Actually, I shouldn't say little, but the big jugs. I think it's like what, a quart, right? Maybe. We go through 4 of those things every 2 weeks.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Well, we put it in our tea. I put it in my coffee. I put it in basically in everything. It's my sweetener for everything I use. It's amazing, and you can use it straight up for like everything, sweeten anything, even yogurt. So
Steven says his late model car is a 20-year-old Mustang. I was thinking about that today. So I remember in 1993, I got a 70 Dart Swinger, and that was considered an old car, right? It was
yeah,
considered a classic car. It was old, but it was still a muscle car. And I'm just thinking today that a 23-year-old car now is a 2000 model. And nothing looks classic about a 2000 model with the bumper cover, the urethane bumper cover, and the
no,
the acrylic headlights and OBD2. And it's surprising how it's not just time changes our perspective of the classics. The evolution or devolving of cars itself has changed our perspective too.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of people have older cars for dailies now because I think they were better cars. They were
Oh
simpler
yeah,
cars. They were more serviceable. They were
mm-hmm.
meant to last longer. Today,
Yeah,
they are transportation appliances. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I think you're going to see 40-year-old dailies,
mm-hmm.
10 years from now, because those are cars that you can afford to service and keep running forever. If you think about it, that 1985 Dodge van I have out there, I paid less for that than some of your services you would get done on modern cars.
Yeah.
And the most expensive thing that could ever happen to that van can't cost $500.
Yeah, right.
I mean, so I think you're going to see more of that. People are going to catch on that financing a $60,000-$70,000 car is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to see people say, you know what? I want an old car that I can just drive and afford to keep on the road and drive it.
That's the whole premise behind my page, Slant Daily Garage. That's what happened is I wanted a car, and instead of buying a new car, I wanted my forever car. My forever car was a 69 Dodge Dart 4-door because I got 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And put a Slant 6 in it, and it would just run forever. So that
Yep.
was my forever car, and that's what I was like, what does it take to make one of these things run, go down the road, do freeway speeds-ish, and still stop in traffic and do what you need it to do? That was the premise behind the page. Yeah.
Unfinished Project says that water was the deciding factor. He said, my cap and rotor were completely shot, though. Who knows if it would have happened in a parking lot, if not in a wash bay? I don't know. Body work is better in a parking lot than in a body shop, according to some people. And Dakota's been driving his 74 Trans Am daily for over a month now. Well, yeah, he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Dakota's an old soul. He is not typical of most people his age.
That's good.
Mexican Specs Daily Driver is 60 years old. When you live in a place where they don't rust out, you can do that.
Yeah.
Colleen says 20 years is classic, 45 is an antique. That's arbitrary, but I'll say this. A 2003 model, is my 2002 CRV a classic? I don't know. That's subjective. Rob, I just showed everybody. You're the only person who knew what that was. I still have that next to my desk. Can't believe I still have that sitting here. Sherry's saying she replaced the starter, got an oil leak, and sold it for $5,000.
That's
Glad I
what I
got rid of
figured,
it when I did. That's a good deal. You did good. I've
100%.
seen them for much less.
Yeah.
I've seen that car you're describing for under $3,000, but I guess in this inflation environment, that was a good price to get.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say just for engine alone, you could easily get 5 to 6 for it, just for the engine and transaxle. Someone would use it for a project.
Especially if you didn't finance any of it.
Yeah, right.
Most of the old parts, and Russ Patrick is here. Sand Mountain Ballistics comes in. We've got Professor Pete for the first half here, so if you have any tech questions, it's a good time to get them. Or if you have any wild, crazy social questions, it's a good time for that too, because Professor P's a lot of fun. Tech or not. We have just as much fun at PRI as we have at Bob Evans afterward.
Right? Yeah. On Wednesday night, I try to tighten the laces a little bit just to do the tech talk and stuff. Right. But on this one here, ask away, man.
So everybody has a different flavor of live, and sometimes I have guests on here. But every Friday I reserve for you guys, whether I have a guest booked or not. John Cope is at US 41 right now. He's there with Larry Boyd, and I have a picture that he sent me from there. I will show you guys. This is what Cope is doing right now. He's helping crew this thing.
Oh, nice. Look at that thing.
Yeah, and it looks incredibly slow, as I'm sure you can surmise by the looks of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it runs, but it's got to be fast. Huge hairdryer, big block Chrysler. I think Cope says that's the fastest 727 he's built. So
now,
there you go.
Is that front end? Is that a fiberglass front end? Because it looks it.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
That's a 68 GTX, runs a 275 tire, 727 torque flight. I believe it's a 528 big block, I think.
Wow.
And a big turbo.
Yeah. When there's a hole in the front of the car, or the grill, just to feed it air, oh yeah, you're doing good.
It's immaculate too. The car, it's really a show car, but it's fast. He gets out and runs that thing. It was on display at Indy Swap, but he takes the track too.
Is that B5 blue? Is that the?
It sure looks like it. It sure looks like B5 to me.
Yeah, but it's so shiny, it's hard to tell because it's shining all the light around it, but it looks like B5. Yeah.
Well, there's a short up on Cope's channel today. You can see him bringing it out of the bay and putting it in the trailer. Oh, check this out. So, Mexican Spec. I'm going to catch that comment real quick. He just posted a 68 Coronet 2-door hardtop for sale if anybody's interested. I'm assuming this is in Mexico.
Wow.
Let us know. That's cool, man. First responder garage in the house, 6% recycled. Glad you guys could make it. No agenda tonight. We're freestyling it. We got Professor
Yeah.
P for the first hour. So if you have any tech questions, it's a good time to ask.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out. Like I said, this Friday is for you guys. So Dust Devil Garage is asking, what do you guys think about a small motorhome camper van as a tow vehicle for a race car?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's called living the life. So that's called.
Yeah. What were they called? Lance? Remember the little you back your truck into them and they're like a camper shell that goes onto the back?
Yeah, that's cool too. You don't see much of that anymore, but that is cool.
Yeah, that's super popular in California. You just get like I think they're called Lance. Is that was like the best one to have, and that's what I've always wanted to do.
To me, that's the way to go. What I want to do is make my van a better tow vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think I'm going to do is it's got a 318 with a 999 automatic and a 294 gear and an 8 1/4 rear. That's what's in it right now.
Mm-hmm.
He says it's an original Mexican car, so it's a Mexican market car. Really good condition, 20,500 US. Hey, I mean, the only thing about a 68 I'll say is they have a lot of 1 year only weird stuff on them. So you don't want to get nickeled and dimed by all the things a 68 Coronet could need. But other than that, yeah, those are great cars.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that like if it's good enough as far as the looks, I like the because I'm just not a body man, so I like the patina of it just because I don't want to do the body work.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I've come to realize I feel bad for people who never come to realize if you truly are happy with a patinaed car, you're just ahead. How is it any less of a car? How is it any less enjoyable? I mean, paint is there for you to look at. It only matters if you are worried about what people think of the way it looks. So if you don't care about the way the paint looks, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I care less.
You don't paint it for you paint it for other people.
People ask me on my green Dart, you ever going to paint it? No, because no one even looks at it in a parking lot the way it sits right now. I know underneath it, it's perfect. It could be like a Formula One deal, right? Because all the technology in it.
Sure.
Other than that, no one's even going to look at it. Perfect.
Well, and it's different for different cars. Like, I really would like to have a nice paint job on the van just because it looks so rough. Yeah. I do want to have a nice paint job on the Dart Sport because they didn't run patinaed cars in the 70s and 80s. It just wasn't a thing because paint was so much less expensive, and that's what people did. And so that car does need to have a nice paint job. But like the Roadrunner, I have no intention of painting that car.
Is the Roadrunner which is on the thumbnail? The thumbnail? Okay.
Yes.
I dig that. I'm gonna go look at that again. That thing's awesome, dude. I love the mismatched.
That's the Roadrunner.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was actually that car.
That is that car. And for those who do not know what he is talking about, if you came into this live and didn't see it, this is my 69 Plymouth Roadrunner, a.k.a. the Roadrunner.
Awesome.
And I have no intention of painting that car. It can stay just like it is.
Perfect.
Although it does need some steelies. I really want a set of original Ram Charger steel wheels for the back.
Okay.
77, 78 Ram Charger 15x8 plain steel wheels. I'm looking for a set for the back. So if anybody does have a set, I would be very interested. Danny Boyd says, just say no to patina. Hey, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I'll tell you what I do hate is fake patina. I hate it when people I can't stand it.
Yeah.
It is clip-on tie. It is instant mashed potatoes. I can't stand it.
Yeah, right. And you know what's funny is that they call it patina now. I just called it, for me, it's just, I just don't want to have a paint job because I don't want to worry about it in a parking lot or door dings or whatever. My car gets a door ding now, whatever, who cares?
Dakota, you've always been able to buy the aftermarket steels and stuff. I would like an original set of Ram Charger wheels. Turbo Tom says, take your van to a trade school and let them paint it. I don't know about that. All I want to do is I want to put back the original blue, uh, which is a metallic. It's a real nice looking blue, and I'm going to put chrome side pipes on it and get the original wheels glass beaded and all that good stuff. It'll look great.
Yeah. Sand Mountain Ballistics, patina. People just can't do body work there. I said yes. I said that earlier. I agree with you. I don't want to do it.
But that's fine. I mean, I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's not about not being able to do body work. I just like that the car has a weird, ridden hard and put up wet story. And
Mm-hmm.
my Roach Runner is wearing a story that has been written for 50 years of sitting outside.
Yep.
And as soon as I paint it, that gets reset to 0. And so it's harder to see that when you're a lot younger and you just see nice or not nice. And I sure didn't see it when I was a teenager, but it's a little different now.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm that way.
Yeah, see, I used to not think that was so. My friend Steve has an original 429 Boss Mustang, and it has 20-some thousand miles, and it has the original paint, and the original paint is rough. And he has to suffer this every time he takes to a car show. The white sneaker crowd comes up, dude, if you just paint that car, you'd win some trophies. He's like, yeah, and if I just paint it, I now have new paint. But I want the story of the car with its original paint. That's what I want. And to me, I take that to the extreme. I like the original story of the paint. Even if it doesn't look good anymore, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I have something you'll see on this channel later. Got it in the works that will show you exactly what I'm talking about.
It's awesome.
Most of the picky people in old cars drive cars from the 2000s with the clear peeling off. Yes, I agree. Sand Mountain Ballistics, if it's a condition, whether or not it's going to rust away. Well, look, I salvaged this Roadrunner. It was just rotting to the ground. So. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we got them good with that one, didn't we? So there's a channel here on YouTube that likes to do body work and says the patina is just laziness. Yeah. I don't know about that. There's a lot of patina cars have an enormous amount of work put in them.
I just like the way my car looks. Like you said, it's got a story. Every little dent in there is in a story. And I remember seeing that car when I was a kid, because that car was right down the street. And so every time I would ride by on my bike, I would see it, and I remember him telling me this and telling me that. And so that car now is completely the way it is because of its journey since 1969.
And you completely destroy and burn that history when you paint it.
Yeah.
And that can be okay, but it's also an option. I want to say hi to Ed's machine. I see he slid in here. Thanks for joining us, Ed.
Yeah, how's it going, Ed?
We're just hanging out and freestyling Professor P for a few more minutes here. For the half. I blinked. That's all right. It happens. Just we're talking about patina and how much some people loathe it and how much some people like it and how much I think we all hate fake patina.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have two.
He must have sneaked by. I did not see him when he entered. So I want to say hi, Copperhead Customs. This is now an international show.
Oh, wow. Hold on.
Yeah, first responders, sure. New paint is a story, and yeah, that's right. And I want to have new paint on the van and new paint on the Dart Sport, but I don't want new paint on the Roach Runner. I mean, if you can, not always a one size fits all. Unless you're going to a car show where you have to have every single little red express truck look exactly the same. It's just like Junkyard D is an interesting question. Let me grab that real quick. He's asking, what year Dodge van will be best for a toter with an overdrive like you're building? So when you're saying a toter, are you talking about cutting the back off of one to put a fifth wheel on it? Or are you talking about
Yeah.
just putting a hitch and, doing a tag trailer? Either way, it says with overdrive and it says what year. I would say that's personal preference because that chassis was around from 71 to 2003.
Yeah.
That's how long that chassis went around for. And uh, the early ones from 71 to 78, they all had this front end was about 2 inches shorter on those. And so they turned the master cylinder sideways as a little more cramped in the engine compartment. They
Hmm.
stretched a nose 2 inches for 79. It's so little you can't even notice unless you're looking at two of them side by side. But that 2 inches made a big difference under the hood on the van. Gave you a little more room to work. Um, they all have the engine offset to the passenger side 3 inches for leg room, which means it has to use a van housing for transmission in the back. Um, if you want overdrive, do a 518, do a 46RH or a 46RE. But if you do an RE, get you like a cope valve body so that you can run it as a hydraulic. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
That's what I would do.
And try to find a van that they make the 3/4 ton vans.
Yep.
Find one with that, and then that way you could put the axle for from a truck with a dually in the back, and that would just make it a little bit more stable.
Well, so that van, you can find that van in 3/4 ton from 71 all the way up to 2003.
Hmm.
The only thing I would not like as much about those newer ones, um, I would want to get rid of that horrible electronic shift stuff in the transmission. And the only
Yeah.
thing you need to do to toss that and get rid of that garbage, you can call up Cope Racing Transmissions. I'm sure there's other people who probably have a solution to this, but we know him. He's in our community and he does this all the time. This is right up his alley. He can get you a 46RH hydraulic valve body. And so you'll keep your overdrive, you'll keep your lockup converter and all that, but it will no longer be dependent upon the computer to operate your shift solenoids and all of that. And then you're in business.
Yeah.
Buffalo Brian said, all depends who owns the car and whatever they like about paint. Sure. Like our friend Dallas Brown says, paint is just about protecting the panels from rust. That's about as minimalist an idea on paint as you can have. And I think it's great.
Right. I like that.
Dust Devil Garage says cars in body shop purgatory are missing out. I agree. Colleen Tebow can tell us all about that.
Oh, she's got one there. She's got one going on right there.
Yes. Colleen, tell us about body shop purgatory.
Oh man.
Now, Dakota, by the way, I think he's like 11 or 12. No, Dakota's like 19 or something close. He says, everyone thought I was cool for driving that Camaro to school. He's got an 81 Camaro with dart heads and a small block.
Hmm.
He said, nobody said anything about the kids driving $50,000 vehicles. Exactly.
That's correct. We were at a car show. This actually just happened a couple weeks ago. We were at a car show and they have all these $100,000 cars there. We're in a Kohlerville. I show up in the wife's Beaver, and it's slant six, nothing done to it. And I popped the hood on it. Literally, the crowd of people left all those cars, backed in with these people behind them. Me, I popped the hood, walked away, and went and got something to eat. And I looked over. Oh yeah, there's a big crowd of people around the slant six. That's what people were
Yeah.
looking at.
I told my uncle that. He has a 69 Dart two-door slant 6.3 on the column. And my uncle, he's 70-some years old. He's, oh, yeah, toss that, put a V8 in it. I'm like, before you just automatically just want to make it like everyone else's, I said, I promise you more people will find that car interesting just like it is.
Yeah, they wanted to hear it start up. They wanted to hear it start up. They wanted to hear it idle. They wanted to hear it run, and then they tell you, "Man, I drove one of these things all through college, and most
Yep.
reliable car I ever had. Never did anything to it. I just started up, changed the oil, and drive it."
Yeah, there's always stories like that on the 6. One-Eyed Cat says, I missed his late entrance. Well, cool. I have now caught your late entrance.
Yeah,
Glad you're here. So most of the old parts and Russ says he likes the 89 to 91 light duty 250 5 lug. I agree with that. I'm actually going to keep my van 5 lug so I can run the original wheels that it came with, but
Yeah.
I'm going to run the 9 1/4 so you can get that combination. And then also with a 9 1/4, when you go to that, you get really inexpensive deep gears and sure grips. So because they came behind overdrives, so you can very inexpensively get a 9 1/4 8 lug rear for a van or 5 lug 8 lug or 5 lug 392 gears with a sure grip inexpensively. To me, I think that's a value.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Colleen says, yes, I can. 4 years. 4 years. Her car's been in body shop for 71 Charger with a 440.
Jonathan
Junkyard D
Kelcher.
is in the market for a van. Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, look for a Dodge van with the 518/46 RH. RH is better if you can find it. They quit making that in '94 with the same transmission if you just change your valve body. Copperhead Custom says that he has both painted cars and patina/surface rust cars. I love them all, but I love the patina cars better as they can't be replicated. I agree. No, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot replicate that.
Yeah.
First Responder says the 9 1/4 is very close to the Dana 60 in strength. It can be. I don't care for the C clips, and they also, and I don't know if Professor P, if you're familiar with this, the later model 9 1/4 sure grips, they put these hardened steel cups in
Mm-hmm.
the body of the sure grip to keep the pins from wallowing out that the body of them. Right? I don't know how
Yeah.
to
It's coming.
explain it, but if you abuse those things too hard, you will break those metal cups. They'll come free, and you'll chew them up in the gears of
Yeah.
the truck or whatever. Ask me how I know.
I do too. I did the same thing. I had an 80 was an 80 87 truck that had that in
Uh-huh.
it. Oh, 85 or 87. I can't remember what year it was, but it had that same type of thing. And we used to go to the sand quite a bit with it. And you're always working that rear end when you're in the sand, and it's same thing. It just destroyed it, ate itself to death.
You're talking about we're talking about things that get attention at car shows. So,
Yeah,
what do you think got the most attention at a car show? My
the
old man's Jeep or all the ones that look just alike?
the white one,
Without a doubt.
100%.
So Buffalo Brian is the transport for bringing Don English's '62 Valiant to the No Name Nationals.
Oh, okay.
So that's what he's talking about. Car's going to be on my hauler before the 104th day. We've got 103 days and 3 hours and 11 minutes to go. That's what you got. First responder hasn't seen or hear of a 9 1/4 spitting out a C clip or breaking the end off. Well, yeah, I will say this: if that axle gets the least little bit bent, that flat roller bearing will chew through it like a saw.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
the
a
only
buzzsaw.
thing that kind of bothers me about those flat, non-tapered roller bearings they put in those.
Dakota's timeout. All this proves we're getting closer to the Mad Max days.
It depends who you ask.
Right?
I would do an 8 3/4 in the van. The only problem with that is you can't get the 8 3/4 in a 5 on 5.5 pattern like the trucks.
No.
If they ever had made that, there is no doubt I'd do that because I have everything for those. That's
Hmm.
exactly what I'd do. Dakota says, I think I'll make it on subs. I'm at 330. Well, of course you will. You've been working for it. You're going to get it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about there, Ron. 4 days of nonstop, but it's done. That's what I'm going to try to do on this fence. I'm going to be jamming on it this weekend, but I'm going to try to get it done. I got to measure the mower. I got to make sure that I don't have to lift up the grass catcher or anything to get through a 60-inch gate. I don't think I do, but just going to make sure. It will be awful to put in the wrong size gate.
Oh,
I've seen that done.
and that means twice a week for that special time of the year when you got to mow, you're gonna be like, damn it, damn it.
My neighbor over here, he put 3 gates in, and they're all walk gates. I'm like, dude, what are you ever going to do if utilities or tree trimmers or construction work or anything ever has to get back there? Because he mows with this little alien looking electric mower that you can't, this creepy little thing that you can't really hear.
Yeah.
It's weird. Tony says you can get 5 on 5.5 in the 8 3/4 with aftermarket axles. I can get a Hyundai bolt pattern and aftermarket axles, but that's what I want to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that too. It's a possibility. It's if it weren't for those van axles being so readily available and plentiful to get a 9 1/4 and a 392 gear with a sure grip, all of that readily available and cheap, because I just made so many of them, I would do it.
Yeah.
Dust Devil says like the wrong size garage door. Yes, I'm gonna. So if you haven't seen it, I'm giving him a shout out here. He's a character. Randall at Blown Budget Garage put, I think, a 6-foot door on his building, and then he went to go get his Dodge Dart out of it. A Dodge Dart isn't quite 6 feet wide, but it's close enough that you don't want to be going over and traversing, this little step between the floor and the ground.
Wow.
So anyway, I think he managed to tag both front fenders, getting that car in and out of that 6-foot door, and then finally cuts this little panel over to the side that opens next to the door.
Perfect.
So the stuff we see on YouTube. But anyway, we've given him a hard time. Yeah, Ed's Machine says you can put Dana 60 or 8 3/4 housing ends on a 9 3/4. Yeah, you could. I mean, I know we certainly could do that. I was just thinking of what would be a reasonable bolt in, and that's too readily available. Those 9 1/4s for vans to not do that. The 9 1/4 is very strong, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And also the 9 1/4 and 8 1/4 share exactly the same distance from the center of the axle to the center of the U-joint. You can run the same drive shaft.
Mm-hmm. I knew that one.
Yeah, there aren't many people that know that, but I knew Professor P would.
I knew that one.
Randall's car is looking good though. What do you ever do about that Poppy's patina clear coat? That you put on. I don't know what he did with that, but I know he painted it. I hope he makes it this year. Tony said there's nothing wrong with a 9 1/4. I agree. I'm not crazy about those little steel shims they put in the cases of those modern sure grips, though. I think they will be better without those.
Yeah.
I think those are a failure waiting to happen. But other than that, I think they're great. Very strong.
Oh, yeah.
And Ben says that's how you get rid of the C-clips. Yeah, I know. I realize, yeah. If I'm going to do that, though, I'm for sure going to do an 8 3/4 just because I like them.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, is that if you're ever... The whole idea to a car that is the driver is that you can get parts for it at the wrecking yard if you need to.
Yeah.
That's at least the way I see it. So I
Sure.
wouldn't go anything super custom then.
Yeah. I mean, it's not... I don't mind custom parts like that for that application, but there's just so many bolt-in options for that are plenty strong.
Yeah.
If there wasn't, yeah, everything would be on the table. Buffalo Brian found out that his check engine light was dual to the fuel modular sensor. What is that?
Man.
Fuel modular sensor?
I think it's probably because you can either run... it's a flex fuel engine. Could be.
Dakota got some haters on the TA video. Well, good.
that means they're engaging. That's awesome.
That's it. Well, Professor P and I were talking before the live and said, you know, if you listen to people on the sidelines, you'll be there with them. And so those people are on the sidelines watching you, and that's good. They're there
So
for
here's
you.
Brian at Dust Devil just sent me this. He needs, look at that
Oh man, see those wheels? That's the wheels I have.
right there. Those ones right
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, that
That's
thing's
it, man.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mine will look that good eventually.
yeah, I like that, man. There's something to be said about having a cool van. I remember friend had a van, and we used to just all of us. We had a 2 cushion love seat in the very very back, and it sat perfectly right on the fender wells, so it was like a slight little layback, and that way when you're driving down the road, you're sitting. We did so many surfing trips in that thing. It was awesome. Yeah, he wants the van, so that way he can pull that with it.
Yes. I can totally see you driving a van and pulling that, Brian.
When he posted that thing, that car reminds me of every car in the late '70s, early '80s. That I just love that thing. I think it's great.
Yeah, those wheels on that van are the same as mine, except mine have been painted black by the same guy who painted the front blue and put 9 eagle stickers on it. It went together, but Turbo Tom's got a yellow 99 Prowler in their showroom where he works. Cool. Smoke Wrench Garage. Smoke Wrench Garage, you're running second in the No Name 500. So we'll be reaching out to you to do a live here pretty soon. Hope you're up for it. Yeah, we got all these speed secrets from the bleachers coming in Dakota's comments. So that's good. That's engagement. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. That means they're watching.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. The best type of publicity is hater publicity, because they'll just keep spreading it. Well, I got to go check this out now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bad fuel module.
O2 sensor. Yeah. O2
Yeah.
sensor will do that every time.
Mm-hmm.
The best fix for a check engine light is you take your black electrical tape and you cut off a piece this big. Fixed forever.
That's right. And then once the bulb burns out, you never have to worry about it again.
That's it. You can take the tape off at that point. Just think of it as masking tape till the bulb burns out. Andy Wood, Unity Motorsports, in the house from Detroit. He's on business up in Detroit.
Oh, nice. Nice to see you, Andy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us. When I grow up, one of these days, I'm going to be popular like Andy. See that?
Yeah, right. And what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Glad you joined us, man.
It's kind of like what's a Pee Wee Herman show? When we say Andy, we all scream.
Right, right. Most of the old parts in Russ Patrick says, on my friend's Little Red Express with a stock rebuilt 360, we ruined the carrier on the 9 1/4, smashed a cross pin around and broke the cross pin lock bolt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, again, you can do that on those too.
Yeah.
Well, glad you're here, Mr. Andy. We got to get together. We've been perpetually postponing a little get together down there in Andy's neck of the woods to do some testing and different things. Hopefully, after Detroit, we can work that out sometime this summer.
Yeah. Hey, someone was asking a question a little while back.
Yep.
You planning on doing a PRI again this year?
I'd like to. What I would like to do at PRI is get my tech inspector certification.
Oh, perfect.
I'd like to do that. I know I can do it there, and I'd like to plan for that this year. Don't worry. They'll let me out on time that we can go to Bob Evans and you can get your White Claw.
Dude, we got to stay back in the hotel again, man. That was like perfect. That's a perfect hotel.
Well, by the way, you should know, Professor P, that John Cope has never stopped letting me live down that I went to Bob Evans 3 days in a row. So he wants to come down one day of it, maybe. I hope he can, and we'll go to Portillo's.
Do you know that they put us the very last day? They put us in our own little area, and so that way we didn't bother the rest of the patrons.
Yes, they did. They stuck us in the back.
That was awesome.
Yeah, we ran off half the restaurant, but we did tip well, so
Yeah.
it was
Oh yeah.
okay. We don't care about a Yelp review from the customers, but we do want to take care of the staff.
Yeah.
Dust Devil says, I can't remember. Do you have to be a PRI member to go to the show? You do, and
Hmm.
YouTubers can get media credentials.
Yep.
That's what Clint Street Machines did. You can certainly do that, Dust Devil. I believe, Professor P, you used
Dallas.
credentials from your work, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes, that's right. I used the credentials for my work at that time. Yeah, I sure
Yeah,
did.
I had AHRA credentials, and Clint had media credentials. So there's several different ways that you can get your badge.
Yeah, that was fun. We did it live right from our hotel room. That was pretty good too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, we'll do the Friday live. We were live with Travis Bell, Celebrity Machines.
Hmm.
We did a live with him.
That guy's cool, man.
Yep, yep. Hopefully, we can go back and see Travis. Ron's looking forward to Lambert's. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Dakota's trying to figure out his mile an hour and his RPM. Well, yeah, you can do that. Speedometer's way off. You can fix that with a pinion. What speedometer do you have in that, Dakota? TH350? I'm not familiar with those. They just run a regular gear, kind of like the torque flights.
It's a
Yeah, they
plastic
do.
gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've changed one. I forgot I'd put one in one of them one time.
Yeah. The only thing about those though is that they have a plastic gear. So they've got like different colors, of green, I'm going to misspeak here. Maybe a yellow, and then so you're only allowed to have so many different combinations with a green. You can only do up or down so much percentage.
Right.
We're on a Chrysler, it's one gear, and then you just clock it in a different spot. So if it doesn't come out just right, then you can either get an external step down gear, or you have to take the whole thing apart, change the plastic gear, put it back, all the whole transmission back together, and then put it back on. So it is kind of a pain in the butt. I say just put your phone up on GPS and call it good.
Yeah. I mean, remember, it's not calibrated every time you do a burnout. So if you think that you're going to have your mileage stay perfect, that it will not.
Yeah, and on my green Dart, because of the way that the speedometer works, it's only really accurate within, like, say, a 30-mile-an-hour window. So I wanted mine to be accurate from, like, say, 50 to like 80. That's where it's really accurate, but below that, it actually is way off. So around town, I use my GPS on my phone, but then when I get on the freeway, it's within, half a mile an hour.
So Twisted Mopar Garage just sent me this.
Oh, that's awesome.
I believe we've got the coyote hanging on there.
That's so awesome.
Hang on. First Responder Garage is something I didn't know. I've never measured this. He says to Dakota that the lines on the road are 40 feet apart. 80 lines a minute is 55 to 60 miles an hour.
Did not know that.
Interesting. I never knew that. Now I'm going to be counting and measuring them.
I'm going to time it.
It's great. Let's do that. Let's do some validation of that, because I think that would be very interesting. Or do a timer video of that, Damien. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, anyways, bud, I'm gonna get jamming here. I'm fading out. I got an early morning to get up, and then we're gonna be on the road probably by about maybe 5:36 tomorrow. So it's gonna be a long day of driving.
Thanks for joining us the first half, Professor P. We're always happy to have you, and look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
And once again, if there was a question you guys didn't want to answer, slantdailygarage at yahoo.com. Once again, slantdailygarage at yahoo.com. Send it there, and we'll get it going. In fact, I have 3 or 4 on there from last Wednesday I'm still working on. So,
yeah, if
all right,
you have
guys.
any interesting tech stuff, send any videos or things on YouTube, like technical stuff you see. We're going to weigh in on it on the Wednesday Tech Talk. So send that to me and or Shane, and we'll talk about it Wednesday.
Yeah, even if it's just wild stuff, is this bullshit? We'll do
Yeah,
like a no name national or kind of our own little MythBusters. Is this real or does this
yeah,
work?
it'd
You
be
know?
interesting.
Yeah. So,
All
all
right,
right, guys. You guys
thank you,
have a good
Shane.
night. Take it easy, guys. See you later. Bye.
So Buffalo Brian is asking if Mexican Spec's bringing the car to No Name Nationals. I would love for Mexican Spec to come to No Name Nationals so that we can have 4 countries involved. We should have Australia. We may have New Zealand. We definitely have Canada and the U.S., but Mexico has never been represented. Ah, man, still not coming this year. Well, Mexican Spec, when you can make it, we'd love to have you. Yeah, most of the old parts and us is the lines in Indiana are all over the place. And that's kind of what I thought, is it there? So there's probably a standard. I mean, I doubt that it's consistently followed. Well, Mexican Spec, I'm hoping that we have another fun and safe no name nationals in 104 days and that we will have a third annual in 2024. I certainly hope so. But just bear in mind, none of us are promised tomorrow. We never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So we want to make the most that we can. So certainly understandable and reasonable when somebody cannot make this year, but we want to try to, get to see everybody when we can, because it's the only place in the universe where all of these channels meet in one place. The only place where you can see Scott with an S and JB's Little Shop and Buck Does It and Bad Tree and Dallas and Shane and Ron Ward and all of those people, and Patrick, most of the old parts and Rust, and Don English and Ron English and Brian English and Wendy English and all of them, and Dust Devil Garage. So you cannot see all of those people in any one place anywhere else. Road lines are painted that way so you can judge proper following distance. I remember when I was a kid, it was 10 miles an hour for every car length. You should follow one car length for every 10 miles an hour, and then they changed it to a 3-second following distance, which makes sense. I think either one are perfectly fine, but hardly anybody observes either one. Yes, you get auto salvage. There's too many people to mention. First Responders Garage and Big Mike and Rapid Transit. Every single channel on my screen right here, with the exception of Mexican Spec, but every other channel on my comment screen right here was at the No Name Nationals in 2022. I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of them again. The NSB guys, NSB Custom Cars left a flooded living room with a family member caring for things to make the event. They are hardcore. So anyway, I'm really thrilled to see all of you guys. Looking forward to seeing all of you again. And Mexican Spec, I'd like to meet you in person if it ever works out. Jay from Rapid Transit's here. Glad you could make it. Turbo Tom. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's too many people to mention. We had a couple hundred channels there easily. Yeah, I would have an hour just to name. You're not kidding, First Responder. I really would. Well, we had more than one Damien. I mean, there was just a lot of people. Wonderful crowd. I'm so just humbled and thrilled that all of you guys will come out to one spot and we can all hang out. Mexican Spec said, I will stick with the one car length, pretend there was no reason to change it. No, I don't think so, but I will tell you is that people who aren't with it enough to understand a car length and their speed and all that stuff, for them, it's probably easier to do 3 seconds because they have absolutely no mind to gauge the length of their car or anything. So, frankly, I think it was dumbed down to accommodate people. Most people follow way too closely. First responder work for DOT and they're painted that way. They're supposed to be painted that way. Yeah. Ron English says to One-Eyed Cat, bracket race until you lose, then do call-outs. Yeah, yeah. Yep, that's the idea. You never know because there's bounties in the bracket. Everybody wants a chance to take out just Mopar Joe. Mexican Spec says, I don't think so. They would have to count to 3 and math is hard. Well, there are some people that can't count to 3. I'm just telling you, we have a culture that likes to celebrate the highly unintelligent now, and I think that is very sad. We used to have a culture that celebrated intelligence. We don't now. We have a culture that celebrates absolute idiocy now. It's a shame. Hi, Millard, as in our was Millard Fillmore? He our 7th president, I think. No, he would have been 8th. Andrew Jackson was 7th. I see Barrows is here. Glad you could join us. Roy Boy's here. Good to see you in here, sir. Still got a good crowd. First responder says he can beat me in reverse. My truck isn't running, so there's that. I kind of want to see a reverse race. I just think that would be really interesting. I once worked on the car that could win the reverse race. It was a 66 VW Beetle. When we were in trade school, we got the differential and ring gear in it backwards. And when you do that in a Beetle, you'll have 4 reverses and 1 forward. So that would be the winner because you could just go to you can shift into second or third or fourth reverse gear. You could go 60 miles an hour in reverse that way. Not that I would want to go 60 miles an hour in reverse in a Beetle. About 25 is plenty fast, but it's not revving that high. So it would cruise at a pretty high speed. But Volkswagen Beetles have, caster like a shopping cart anyway. So reverse is not nearly as bad, considering how little caster you have in them going forward. Reverse, they'll spin out right, Buff Del Campo. That's my only hesitation. It's going to be a lot easier for someone to tag the wall, even at that low speed. Barrow says that's easy to do on those transactions. It's too easy. If you're not paying attention to which one of them has the holder for the clutch, you'll do that. So would it count as reverse if you put the body on backwards? I don't know, man. Stuff I've never thought about. I don't know. I kind of want to see that. I wonder if the Livco will shift gears in reverse. I don't know why it wouldn't, unless it's. I'm just sitting here trying to think why it might not, but I would think it would. I'm trying to think what the power flow is, and I think it would actually. That's a great question. You should do a video on that, Lee. I bet it would. Yeah, exactly. Barrows has flipped the VW around backwards for mid-engine. Exactly. That's why people did that. We just did it by accident and discovered that. A Cove said a couple of guys I went to school with enjoyed reverse racing and regularly were in the ditch. Right. And that's the only reason. That's why I'm reluctant. Because as much as I want to see it, I just don't want to see people tag the wall. What if you push start the junkyard Jets car backwards? I bet it will run in reverse. Have to think about that because not not the Valiant, but you're probably talking about that Fury that Austin has. See, it's got the older torque flight that has a rear pump that will push start. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that would work because of the phasing of the cam, but I'm sure you could do it. I'm sure you could do it. NSB think, yeah. See, NSB's thinking that it will too. It's going to be fun until it's scary. I think you could, because if you think about it, well, no, I'm sitting there trying to think how the torque biases that. Man, if you could, that'd be really cool though. Even if you couldn't shift it, you could start out in a much higher gear. You certainly have the torque to do it. Mexican Spec said that it all been an all-inclusive waiver of liability. Here's the thing about waivers of liability. You really want people to have an acknowledgement of risk. And people can always decide to sue for any old crazy reason, but we tell people drag racing is dangerous and you're doing this at your own risk. And you cannot use any amount of wordsmithing or documents to cause people to do whatever you want them to do. I've taught firearms professionally. This is 14 years now, even though I haven't taught a class this year. So let's call it 13 plus this year. I don't have a waiver of liability. I have an acknowledgement of risk. And then that person would have to take that before a judge and say, I was told every one of these things. I've never had a problem. And what my shirt says, this is on the periodic table, right? See? Element 115. What about the lower being reversed? Nah, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Periodic table. Yeah. So this is a shirt that the math nerds and all will see as being the periodic table, but gun people will know what it really says. Blower on the Detroit. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, let's just see what Dallas says about racing in reverse, and also what the track would say about it. The steering geometry. Well, exactly. It's the caster. It's the caster because you're going from positive caster to negative caster, and that's why when a car backs up, it automatically wants to steer. It's because your caster is reversed. But that said, my biggest concern with that would not be a car, swerving hitting the wall, although that would suck. And we would, obviously need to touch up the paint on the wall and all that. And somebody hurts their car. Will be somebody swerving into the other car. So that would be the downside to all of that. 38 POS, you could actually change that. You could fix that. You could get creative and fix your points on your A arms and whatnot and get your caster back, but it would only work for reverse. $47, let's reverse race and stuff up. Just remember, it's not going to happen unless Dallas likes the idea and the track does. So there's 2 hurdles to clear. I kind of like it. I'd want to see it, but Danny Boyd says Castor is a beach. Caster is caster's important. I like a Fuzzmore caster on the passenger side and the driver's side to help fight road crown a little bit. I like a good amount of positive caster regardless. I like the stability. A lot of your big trucks and four-wheel drives hardly have any caster at all, and that's why they handle like a shopping cart when you get up to speed. And I don't know what it is, but about 105, 110, the late model Mustangs, the front end gets really light on them all of a sudden. I guess it's just air getting under the front end and they don't have any caster. They don't. Colleen, I asked my insurance agent about if you could have stopped at those 6 words right there, and no, no, they're not gonna. Chevelle's had negative caster. Yeah, man, not me. Then you're having to hold the wheel. The car is trying to steer all the time, and you're trying to hold it from steering. Yeah, caster centers your steering. Exactly, Danny Boyd. You're actually using the weight of the car to center the steering. Barrows is 6 degrees for manual and 8 to 10 with power. But that's a lot. Most cars you can't get anywhere near that. Yes, first responder, we know it does more than center, but it does very basically. It helps center out when you come out of a turn and reestablish the center. Six degrees for manual 8 to 12. That's a lot. That's a lot. Which is I kind of like numbers like that, but it's a lot. Caster can wear your tires in an extreme. It can, but I'll tell you what. I mean, for what is it? For every degree your toe is out, you're dragging your tires sideways 50 feet per mile, something like that. Chevelle's had negative caster reduced to. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that, but I would much rather have Armstrong steering and have some positive caster. So, I mean, you think about it, in this day and time with distracted driving, imagine cars that had negative caster, these people that don't pay attention to what they're doing, how much easier it is for that car to wander off the road or into the other lane. Yeah, I've kind of got a quandary on the CRV. I'm trying to get the camber where it's supposed to be on the rear. The problem is the where the arms attach, as you try to correct the camber and get rid of some of that negative camber, it also brings the toe in more because they didn't put your upper arm directly above. It's above, but it's also back. So I've tried to compromise with it. At first, I had it 3 turns on one side, 2 on the other, and now I've taken half that out of it. So I got back some of the negative camber, but I got rid of a lot of the positive toe, and it's helped my tire wear. So I'll take it. And later, Smoke Wrench. Looking forward to having you on a 500 Live soon, man. It'll wear out the side edge like camber. Yeah, well, yeah, because every time your wheel is not perfectly true, you're on that side, which is yeah, it makes sense. But I still like to have a little more caster. Buff set up his 66 Chevelle with positive caster. Had a huge stack of shims to do it. I was concerned about the shims falling out. Yeah, that's always weirded me out too. I've seen big old stacks of shims on upper arms, and it just always weirded me out. I'll tell you what else I always thought was kind of weird is the plastic shims that you trim out with tin snips. I always thought those were wild. Those round plastic shims. first responder talking about steering axis inclination. Well, yeah. It's a whole big old deep dive we could get into with front end geometry and four wheel alignment and all kinds of stuff, man. Get into the scrub radius and the Ackerman. All of that is interesting stuff. It's very, very interesting. It's just probably outside the realm of what we would do here. There will be about 3 or 4 of us that nerd out on it in here, and everybody else will be like, that's just weird. And I wouldn't blame them. Danny Boyds has always loved them 66 Chevelles. My dad had a 66 Chevelle convertible, 396 4-speed, before I was born, unfortunately. Yeah, first responder. We can do a midweek live or something and get all nerdy about alignment tech. That would be an interesting one. That'd be an interesting one. I remember doing some weird custom ones. Like a friend of mine had a little 3/8 mile oval track car, and we actually towed the right rear on it out because the track really had no straightaway or next to no straightaway. So we put some tow out in the right rear, and the car was much happier that way. The Dodge Omni. Buff was doing wheel alignments from 71 to 73, learned a lot about what it does and all the mistakes engineers made. Yeah, it is fascinating stuff. I'll give it that. I remember when the Hunter's new digital racks that had the cameras came out, and I got training from the Hunter rep on those. That was interesting stuff. That was wild. It's just wild to see what all the cameras did. They're checking for bent rims, and you roll it back and the camber compensation. It was so interesting how all that worked, and how many ways you could cheat. When I saw that, I'm like, man, there's going to be so many people getting dishonest alignments everywhere with this. Because I mean, all it takes is the least little bit of put your shoulder on it, hit the button, turn the boxes green. You can get an alignment that's pure trash, and it'll have all 6 boxes green, and the alignment's garbage. I've seen it I don't know how many times, because you can stack the tolerance to the wrong side on 2 and just get horrible numbers. They're still technically within spec, but the alignment's junk. Had a friend did that. He said he took a car in for alignment. He said he got the sheet, all of it was green, and it drives worse than before. Took one look at the sheet and said, well, here's exactly why. That was on a Honda Civic, and I think what they did was they put the car had an enormous amount of negative tow, cross tow on the rear. Is what they wound up with. And on a front wheel drive, I mean, anybody who's done this knows why that is a disaster, because the back end of the car is trying to steer all the time. So I told him, he did the military. I said, take that thing down to the military motor pool. There's an alignment rack there. And I told him what to put in there, and he put it in. It drove so much better. But it's interesting science. We could do a whole live on that sometime. It'd be fun. Buff Del Campo still uses a hub gauge, no electronic. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Not a thing in the world wrong with that. A tram gauge, or you don't even have to do that. I mean, you can actually just put your squares on there and use the board with the nails, scribe the line. There's a lot of ways you can do a very respectable alignment. First responder caught a dealer doing that. Yeah, oh yeah, all the time. I'll tell you what, I even tell people, if you want to know how honest an alignment you're getting, see how close the computer is to the front edge of the rack. That'll tell you a lot. If it's within arm's reach, I guarantee you cars go out of there wrong all the time. Engine Light Garage has torpedo levels and angle. You'd be surprised how good alignment you could do with that stuff. The alignment, I would rather have an alignment done with the crudest of tools by the best alignment guy than the finest of tools by the worst alignment guy. You'll get a better alignment that way. Barrow says Mopar is set up differently because of body flex and torsion set. They're all set up a little differently. First responders, I don't use any tools except crescent channel off. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can do. I think it would surprise people how alignments are done on 200-mile-an-hour cars all the time. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a tape measure. There's different ways of doing that. I thought about doing an old school alignment video on my Dart Sport because I think a lot of people find it interesting, and I would have a plethora of people telling me how it's wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. But all those people wouldn't be around to say anything when the car goes straight down the track. And you don't have to have a tape measure at all. In fact, I don't even like the tape measure because the tape measure, I use a scribe line. I use a scribe line on a nail and I spin the tire and I put a scribe line on the tire because that way it's almost like using a lathe to put a true line all the way around the tire. That's how I do it. And because the tape measure, the way to guarantee a bad alignment is to take a tape measure and try to hook onto a tread block and measure it on. But I've seen that I don't know how many times. If your alignment is so bad that you can do it that way, okay, you'll get it better. But we're talking, you're not in the ballpark. You're not in the same county as the ball game if it's that bad. Dust Devils folded up trash bags under the front tires. Well, that's neat. Yeah. Parallel plumb string. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Yeah, NSB says bad tech guys battle them. I totally agree. And the worst thing about the new modern machines is that there's so many guys that think the machine does all the thinking for them, and it doesn't. The one thing I've seen that's a real common thing with those machines, they have hooks on them, and you use the hooks one way for a steel rim and one way for an aluminum. And I've seen guys not change that. And then when they hang their target, the thing is all jacked up, and then even that's not right. The thing has a bent rim when it doesn't. First responder, that's called Dunning-Kruger. YouTube is full of it. Guys who don't know and think they know. It's just full of it. Barrows gets as close as he can, then takes him to a strictly alignment shop, not a tire shop. Yeah. The places that have an alignment rack, just like they see it as an extra revenue stream, they got a bay for it over there. And you get the guys that the kind of revolving door of oil change people doing alignments. Yeah, you don't want to go there. I used to take stuff to a guy, his alignment shop was called Straight Ahead in Roanoke, a guy named Bruce, who was a professional skeet shooter. He actually did that in his free time, but he was a really good alignment guy, did it for decades and decades, and he retired a while back. So I have done my own since, but yeah, I don't mind going somewhere and putting it on a machine just to see things and actually see the numbers. I don't mind that at all. So Jason, Indirect Connection, said, I did an alignment on the Belvedere. It took 5 tries, but it goes straight as a circle down the road now. Nice. Buff said, are there any old Bear alignment shop left? I don't know what that is. Yeah, Twisted Mopar says string line, pair levels, 2 exact tape measure. You can get a Mopar frame close to. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there are many different ways to do it. There are many different ways to do it. The one thing I never did like is the Mopars up into the 70s. They started isolating the K members with those bushings. And man, when those rot, you got to realize your K member's moving, which is where your steering box is, where your idler arm is. And so that is changing your front end alignment too. So you could check it and have perfectly good tie rods and ball joints and everything and have that move around on you and screw it up. Mohawk 62 said, I'd rather use a bubble balancer than a new spin style. The new ones only balance your tires to 60. You know what they balance 330, 340 mile an hour top fuel dragster tires on? A bubble balancer. Fact. I've got video of Mike Mercer and Mickey Thompson doing sportsman tires, pro mod tires in the pits at Bristol, doing them on a bubble balancer. That's how they do them. So all these people, I have the road force and all. I'm like, it's fine. I mean, that's no problem with any of that. Barrow said, was that the rubber mounted K members? Yeah, they had bushings on them. So instead of just bolting to the frame rails, they were isolated. I never cared for it. They did it on the rear too. They had like a rubber sandwich around the plates for the U-bolts on the rear end to isolate it out from the spring. Same thing. And when those get rotten, think about what happens to your pinion angle and could your axle housing shift a little bit? Okay, so now you've changed your wheelbase a little side to side. That's going to give it some steering input from the rear. I don't like anything like that. I don't like any kind of, isolator junk like that that's going to affect your ride and your alignment. I don't like anything like that. Jason drove 358 miles today and drives great on smooth roads. Anything else is scary. Yeah, that's pretty typical. Speaking of tire balance, here's the pros right here, NSB Custom Cars. A bubble balancer will get the static balance out. Dynamic is side to side and wobble, static straight up. Yeah. Drag tires deforming or soft sides, you really can't. You probably could, but it'd be a lot harder to do. It would be harder to do because of the speeds and the kind of machine it would take and all. What years for the K-member shims? Well, these weren't shims. These were just rubber isolator bushings. And they started that stuff in the mid-70s. I never cared for it at all. I know like the late 70s Furies and all that stuff had them. Dust Devil's asking NSB, is that big blue car going to be ready for No Name Nationals? These are the questions. Yeah, we go down a rabbit hole on tire balance and alignment and all that. Yeah, Tony says 73 was the first year for that stuff. That's what I was thinking, 73. I know my 73 Dart Sport did not have that, but the big cars had it. I know that. Oh, the 62 does not have. No, Ron, 62 didn't have that. You won't find any of that garbage on Don's Valiant. 38 POS Racing says if anyone wants any of the 38 POS Racing stickers, email me your address and I'll try to get them out. Yeah, man. I'd love to have a couple of your stickers. They'll make it to the board. One-Eyed Cat confirms it has the K-member bolted directly to the frame as it should be. If you're going to get rid of those on a car, which is probably a good idea, remember, you'd have to get your height of the compressed bushing right to make a solid spacer, which would definitely be better, but you'd want to get that right so that you can get everything else right. I'm sure you can get that. Get your numbers and everything. It would work out. Yeah, Tony said 73 for those, but I don't know when they finally made it to all the cars. The A bodies didn't have them, but the B bodies did get them. I think all those the land yachts had them too. Yeah, Buff is talking about static versus dynamic balance. That's correct. No, you're exactly right. Oh, yeah, there is a big difference. Dynamic balance has an exponential effect, too. The easiest way probably to think of static versus dynamic balance would be, think about balancing a drive shaft spinning versus putting it on a seesaw. You can really see how much difference there is in static and dynamic if you think about it like that. Dust Devil's saying, shine the grill up nice, so I got something to look at in my rearview mirror. Dust Devil's writing some checks there. Let's hope he can cash them. His car is running, though. So looking forward to seeing more coming out of Camp Dust Devil. We're at 103 days, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And as I remember, my list is not right here. I have my list on what day people thought that car would drive out of the shop. I know that the next closest is Two Hacks at 43 days to go. So, Brian, there you go. You've got 61 days before Two Hacks 43 days comes up. Ron English and just learning new stuff for this old guy. I got to say, Ron English, this community knows all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. This community here is, I would put it up against any community on YouTube. I mean, look at the talent we have in this chat alone. Gosh, just look at the people on the screen right now. Between first responder, NSB, mostly old parts and Russ Patrick, Barrows, my gosh. All kinds of knowledge in this community. Just that little sample there. Buff said Kim got her second truck running yesterday. I believe that's a 1999 Dodge with a 318. So Damien, first responder, got a question for you. Oil pump gasket on a 318, yes or no? What are your thoughts? Mexican Spec says, Buff Del Campo, you aren't taking the turbo slant dart to the No Name Nationals? Yeah, Buff, what are you bringing? What are you bringing? Let me know. First responder says no. Interesting. I posed that question to a few other competent pros yesterday and got mixed answers. Roller Cam 318, pretty cool score. Yeah. Long live the Roller Cam 318. Yeah, you know what? I need to make that a poll on my community tab and get as many Mopar people as possible to opine on that. Oil pump gasket on a small block Chrysler, yes or no? It's a good question. I think I'll put that up. Also, machine the surface. Yeah, I agree. Well, I gave a rationale for and against. Ron English is all willing to share for better. Yeah, we like to share and things we learn. That's right. See, most of the old parts in Russ Patrick says no gasket, but I checked the fit to make sure. Yeah. See, that's the long and the short of what I said. Is what because Buff was asking that question. I said, if that surface is perfectly flat and your engagement on the new pump, because all new parts are extremely suspect. This is the day we live in. Make sure that the engagement of it's the right depth. But if the engagement is the right depth and it's perfectly flat, then no. Now, some people are like, I've asked another person, in our community, would you use a gasket? He says always, because he doesn't like the idea that it could draw air. I get that. I get it. That's one of those you could do it either way. First responder says, anyone know why they started putting the gasket? I'm assuming because of imperfect surfaces, imperfect parts, and that surface will hide some sins of the surfaces people are bolting together. That would be what I would imagine. No idea, Colleen. By the way, Colleen, this was kind of funny. So John Cope hears your name phonetically, Colleen, and what he hears is choline steels, like going a transmission between the clutches. But that's Kolene. So he was working in the parts room last week, and I said, make sure you're stocked up on choline Tebow steels. He's like, no, I can't unhear that now. Because the finish of the oil pump got worse. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, that's probably true, but I'm saying that that gasket would give more room for air. There's there's a lot of things, not just with cars, but in general, where people come up with solutions to try to fix. They come up with a solution that to me is a bad solution to fix up an even worse problem that should be fixed. Check the surface for flat went without a gasket. Yeah, there you go. Good. Yeah, right. Yeah, calling Tebow. You're reference for the parts room now. But it's a good one. Hey, I gotta say, I'm all about it. I like the choline steels. I run them. Most of the old parts, I hope he's stocked up on them. Me too. I'm gonna need 9 or 10 of them here real soon. No, I'm gonna need 18 of them real soon. Got that transmission Dons I still got to do. Look at you people betting at the fence on fuel pumps. Okay. Let's see. What else we got going on? We got a few minutes left before Tony's live. Tony's Hot Rod Garage goes on here in 13 minutes, and then we'll head over there. And I hear he may be doing a 600 subscriber giveaway. He was at 597 about an hour ago. Colleen Tebow said a guy at work spells her name wrong. Well, I'll tell you what, Cope will be remembered for a lot of things, but ability to spell is not one of them. He's a creative speller, I'll put it that way. But it works out because if you look back in history, there are a lot of different spellings for torque flight, like legitimate spellings. Throughout the years, they had different spellings for it. So some things it works out. Buffalo Brian likes a bunch of real people. Yeah, this is as real as it gets, Buffalo Brian. As real as it gets. Like I have met most of these people. I know most of these people. These are all real people that work in the trades and they live the lifestyle and they build stuff and they put it on their channel. And this community is legit. It's legit as it gets. Because the people who aren't don't last very long here. And it's not, nobody's being mean. It's just they're either attracted to the idea of getting it together and making an event and sharing your builds and doing this stuff as a community. They're either attracted to that or they're just like, no, I would rather, talk about my fast car that's never going to show up and no one's ever going to see because I want credit for stuff I'm never actually going to do. And those people just don't really, maybe they just don't fit in. But a lot of people do, and it's a robust community. Thumper, I'm not real, I'm imaginary. And they have a sense of humor too. Yes, first responder. I get that. I get that. Okay, but we're going to turn it into a debate about the oil pump. I mean, a social live like this, how much can you really get into? I understand exactly what you're talking about. I mean, we weren't doing a comprehensive, tech on anything tonight. I mean, like, for instance, first responder. On the Tech Talk Wednesday, we were talking a little bit about rod bearings for the benefit of somebody who we know watches our stuff, who actually thinks that the connecting rod clamps to the crank journal. If somebody thinks the connecting rod clamps to the crank journal, how much benefit is it to really get into the weeds on, bearing journal diameter and measuring that? So there's a balance to it. I get what you're talking about with alignment, though. Looks like Dean's going to be performing an exorcism at No Name. A dusty one. Cool. Some actually think a bearing is round also. I get that. I mean, Professor P actually was talking about how a bearing measures from point to point if you measure it around the clock. But remember, so one thing I've learned as a teacher, it's not about teaching everybody everything you know. It's about teaching them everything they need to know. And so sometimes if you get people focusing on something that's a 5% importance and overlooking something that's a 50% importance, they come out with the same outcome, which is failure. And to me, a good teacher's got to refrain from teaching them things that are counterproductive to get into for wherever they need to be. I do this with pistol craft all the time. And I tell people that my pistol classes, they are advanced classes. The beginning class is an advanced class. We just don't cover as much material. So we need to cover what is extremely important to get right and get that really right and then move forward. I mean, can I teach them how to, rack around off of somebody else's teeth? Sure, right. But is that really what's important in a beginner class of somebody who needs to learn the concepts of properly carrying and getting rounds to hit where they need to? Well, no. So we refrain from that. Buffalo Brian says, mission accomplished, Mexican. You did put a smile on my face with that comment. Well, cool. I'm glad. Friday nights we just have fun here. This is what this is good. Sometimes we do have an agenda though, and there are some things coming up that we're going to have to iron out some details here now that we're in the summer. It's going to be good. First responder, I just got my instructor cert for firearms. I'd like to hear more about that. I've been teaching professionally 14 years. It's interesting. What can I tell you? Wendy just got in from work. Well, Wendy, you can catch a few minutes of my live and then head over to Tony's. Friday night lives are indeed a great time. I agree. Tony's doing good with his Friday night live. I got to tell you, historically, nobody has made a live stick after mine, but Tony's doing well with it. I think which is part of that is because he's out west. So he actually, what is it for you, Tony? 7 p.m. there? See, you're coming in fresh. And that's good. That's good. Danny Boyd says, my landlord is urging me to start carrying. I'm urging you to start moving. I carry every day of my life, but I don't I don't carry because I think I'm going to need it. I carry it hoping I'll never need it. Zero G Mopar says, hi, I'm viewing all the no-name content creator. Well, cool. And thanks, Zero G. And Zero G, we'd love to have you back in the mix. We had a couple of guys from last year that didn't quite get their 500. They came back and they got it this year. So far, 2 so far this year. Love to have you get back in the mix. Love to meet you. And if you don't want to register as a participant and get your 500, still come on a weekend pass. Come spectate. Come join us. We'd like to meet you in person. Yeah, check out Zero G Mopar's channel. Fun channel. No Name Nationals 2023. What is the count of participating channels not made 500? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, Levi, but we've had 13 channels, I think, make it so far, and 23 more who are registered that have yet to. Tony's Hot Rod Garage says, I never leave home without one. Tony's Hot Rod Garage, I never leave home with more than at least one. It's so funny. Everybody says, do you carry a backup magazine? Of course I do, which has a gun wrapped around it. Nothing says you can't carry that. Travis says 104 days till the big party. You got that right. You better believe it. Mexican Spec says, I don't feel the need to carry a gun. That's not an option. I just don't feel any danger around. Neither did anybody at Virginia Tech on April 15th, 2007. On April 16th, 2007, everybody felt the need to have a gun that they didn't have with them. Nobody felt the need to have a life jacket on the Titanic before it sank either. Tony says, I carry 2 spares. I actually, I like... So Glock 17 is my daily, and then a Smith & Wesson, the Shield, the M&P Shield. It's like the smallest gun you can really fight with and get a proper grip on. I like that for a backup because when you need deeper concealment, you can still do that as a primary. But I keep it on my left side still because that's the hand I train with and use it and practice more. Most of the old Parts and Rest is 102 days and change because we'll be there on Thursday. Right. Well, that counter back there, 104, day 1 is going to be on that Wednesday. Day 0 is that Thursday. So you're counting a lot of travel time or something in with that. It wasn't drowning on the Titanic. It was well, that's true. I'm sure some people drowned, but you're right. Hypothermia, I'm sure, claimed a lot more. Which would you rather have? The hypothermia, the Titanic, or the sharks from the Indianapolis? Ron English was a spectator last year, now part of the pit crew. And just think about it, Ron. You can work on your subs and be participant racing next year. Tony's EDC is a SIG 3-piece 365. I've shot those. A lot of popular students. A lot of students have brought them to class, and they run. I think it's a little on the small side for daily, personally, but whatever works. Mexican Spec says, no matter what, the bad guys here have military weapons as one side. Well, I agree, but I like to give myself the best possible chance to win a fight that I can possibly do. Glock 43 with a 15+1. 43X has got the long grip on it, right? I'm thinking the 43X, is that the one that's got the long grip? I have a 43. I just think they're a little too small, personally. And so the tail end of this is not like my class, but I'll say this. You grip your pistol with 3 fingers because your thumb is just in the way. Your trigger finger is independent. Then you got these 3 to grip. And so when you go with a really small gun, you're at least giving up this one. And then if you give up your ring finger too because it's too short, you have one finger out and it's just flipping you off for buying it. Cool. So One-Eyed Cat is going to be his project this year, being the crew, wants to do it for next year. Well, Ron, start working on your subs now because you got a great opportunity to build your channel with the One-Eyed Cat this year. You have a great opportunity. I would try to get as many of your subs you can between now and the No Name Nationals so that you're not starting from nothing in the winter. Not that you can't do it. It's just a good idea. Zero G Mopar, any recommendation for concealed carry if you have extra large hands? Glock 17. I could go round and around and around with all this, but I'm just giving you what I think is the right answer from a ton of experience. Fits my hand like a glove. I got to say, I must have like really, really average hands because people complain about those finger grooves on a Glock. They always say they're in the wrong place. They fit my hand exactly right. Mexican Specs asking, do you think I'm going to have to put a cap on how many channels can participate at some point? Yeah, probably. But we're not at that place yet, so I'm not worried about it. First responder says if you need more than one backup, you might think about moving or get better at shooting. Well, I agree. I mean, I think that it's fine to have a backup. It's whatever. I mean, if you had to carry 3 spare tires on your car, you probably need to drive on different roads too. So it's relative. Probably not just a bigger track. Well, I got to tell you, at a quarter-mile track, the pits get so spread out that you start to lose the community feel you have in pits the size of, say, Bristol Dragway. Like, our event will get lost there. You just trust me on this. Having that cozy pit that we have at Jeffords is great. It's plenty big for what we're doing right now. If we outgrow it, we outgrow it. I'm certainly. Listen, if you guys want to have this at a quarter-mile track just for the size of the pits, then sell this out. Get 500 channels there and say, okay. Well, guys, we have hit our mark. It's been a blast hanging out with you. I appreciate y'all being here. Friday nights are just for fun, and I always block this time out for you guys. And Tony is live now, so head over to Tony's Hot Rod Garage. He should be kicking off now, if not now, in the next couple of minutes. So go ahead on over there. Buff's saying we'll go to Lambert's Thursday or Friday. Thursday, 6 p.m. local time. All right. And with all that, I'm going to shut down. And somehow I knew you were a Kimber guy, first responder. Somehow I just knew. Because the Kimber's got like 90 parts in it. I just knew it. I just knew it. If I had to bet money, that's what I'd have bet. I'm a Glock guy because I like people telling me that they're not sophisticated enough with 29 parts. All right, guys, I'm shutting down. Head over to Tony's Hot Rod Garage. He has a good live on Friday nights. And I will see you guys again. I will be live with Shane Polito, Professor P, on Wednesday. And we'll see you guys again soon. Take care.